Okay, this review video is about the Trijicon TA50 ACOG. The reason I'm doing this review is there's not a whole lot of reviews out there about this particular model, so it's not very popular. So I got this, I figured, I'll just talk about it a little bit here. So let's do the unboxing first, and I'll talk a little bit about the features and why I actually don't like this ACOG. So of course, plastic box. Again, TA50, it's a 3-power mini ACOG. Comes with, regular stuff, lens pen, manuals, scope cap, whatever, usual stuff. The interesting thing about this particular model is one thing it does not come with is a mount. You actually have to buy and purchase your own mount and install it yourself. Kind of interesting. I'm not quite sure why that is, because I think every single other ACOG model has a mount. Or I should say it comes with a mount, except this one. This one does not. I don't know why Trijicon does not include a mount. I guess they expect you to, replace it with something else, which is unfortunate because the mounts are like 50 bucks. So I really would have liked to have a factory mount included, but I guess I can't complain too much. The one specific reason why I got this model over, the other models is, well, number one, I love ACOGs. People say they're outdated, but I really like its toughness, its simplicity. The reason why I got this particular model is, unlike other ACOG models, it does not have that extended fixed base. Like you see, here's a TA31. You see this base here, and it sits higher up for basically AR-15s. So if you want to put this on something that's not an AR-15 and you need something lower, your options are a little bit different. So I got this one specifically. You can see here it has no fixed base, and then when you attach it to your mount, you can see it sits much lower than it would with something like this. Not that much lower, but noticeably enough to make a difference. The difference between a cheek weld and a chin weld, I guess. And I definitely wanted something shorter for specifically this gun. I bought it specific just for this rifle. It's a Swiss SIG 553 long barrel. Currently it has a brace on it, but the stocks are coming eventually. But with the stock also, I've noticed the comb actually slopes down a little bit, so it'll be even lower than the brace will. So I needed something really low to sit on here. And this seemed to fit the ticket. It seemed like this would be the perfect optic, but it turns out not really. Now, a little bit about the scope. It's got the tethered caps here for windage and elevation, just like normal. It's got wings for an RMR attachment, so if you wanted to put a red dot on top. Fiber optic. It's also powered by tritium, so if there's no light, ambient light, then the tritium will make the reticle glow. One interesting thing about this is with the mini ACOGs, it seems like you either have the single center hole, or with regular ACOGs you have the front and back hole. This one has all three. I really like that. I wish they would offer that just for the sake of versatility with the other ACOGs. So you have 3 holes, you've got more mounting options, and the 3 holes, the front and back hole I should say, does fit a standard ACOG mount, even though the height itself won't, and I'll talk about that in a second. So a quick word about the mounts themselves. You actually have to be kind of particular about what mount you buy. So this one is an ADM, I think it's like the B2, I don't remember exactly. It's made for mini ACOGs. You can see here it's got various holes. But the thing is, and I don't know if you can see this here, is it's got a valley here, right? So it's got the base, which is the flat part at the bottom, and then it's got the diagonal walls, and then it has just the smallest amount of vertical walls. You can see here, we're talking barely a millimeter, but the thing is, these vertical walls actually prevent the ACOG from sitting flush because it hits the body on the sides here and it just sits too high. I'm wondering if I can you can kind of see the gap there we go, in between the body, and it's because of these vertical walls. You have to get a mount specifically, and you actually have to check it out, that has no vertical lip here. that lip is what's preventing it from sitting flush. Now, it does work with this mount. It does work like this. You can put in the bolts and it sits straight, and you know, it doesn't move or anything, but obviously not ideal. I want it to sit flush. So you have to be kind of particular about what mount you buy. So keep that in mind when you're shopping for mounts. Look for ones with only diagonal walls. If it has any vertical lip, it's not going to fit. Another thing, let's talk about the reticle choices. You only get two here. You get the horseshoe, which is a dot and like a semicircle around it, or the crosshairs, which is just like it sounds, crosshairs. I really don't understand why they don't offer the chevron with this particular model. It seems to me like the chevron is the most popular, and it's awesome, by the way, the most popular optical choice. And I understand that Trijicon can't make every single combination of reticle, you know, caliber and magnification, body style. There's just too many combinations. I get that. But why would they not choose the reticle for this, especially for this particular model? Because it's so small and compact, and when you bring it up to your eye, the chevron just naturally focuses your eye on the target here, versus the crosshairs, which is what I got. I don't like the crosshairs. As soon as I took it out of the box, I was like, oh, this is a mistake. I took it. The reason is the crosshairs have these stadia lines that go underneath the main crosshair, and the second line below the main crosshair is just so close. I don't remember what the calibration is. I think if you sight it in at, you know, 50 to 200 yards, I think the next line below it might be 300 yards. I'll have to double check the thing. But it's just so close. What happens is it takes a second for my eye to figure out what I'm looking at. Like, I'm not like a competition shooter, I'm not, you know, a high-speed operator, so it's not like a huge deal. But as soon as I bring it up, it's just cluttered, and it takes me a second to figure out what I'm aiming at and, you know, where the crosshair needs to be. So a chevron really would have fixed it. Even the horseshoe, I decided against the horseshoe, which now I know is kind of a mistake. I think the horseshoe would probably be much better. No, I definitely know it's going to be better than the crosshair. I figured for the 5.56 the crosshair would be a good choice. I will say the more I used it at the actual range, and this happens, you know, looking at it through using something in your basement isn't the same as using it in the real world. And when you're outside, you know, I got used to it basically. The crosshairs aren't as bad as I initially thought, but I'm still underwhelmed by it, truthfully. The three choices that you get, the different calibrations, are 7.62x39, so they obviously know, you know, it's kind of geared towards AK. 5.56 and crossbows, oddly enough. I'm not really sure how they figured out crossbow, you know, drop, but that's kind of interesting. So if you have a crossbow and you want like a really nice optic for it, well, there you go. There's an option for you. The next thing let's talk about is the field of view. A lot of people complain about the TA33, which is the full-sized 3-power ACOG. They've complained that it's like looking through a straw. You know, the field of view is just really narrow. This is even worse, okay? I understand that it's science, you know, the size, the length between, the distance, I should say, between the lenses and things like that, they all affect your field of view, your eye relief, things like that. In this small package, it's incredibly narrow. It's very kind of tube-like, okay? It's like a red dot, but magnified, but you're staring right into the tube, if that makes any sense. The field of view is just really, really narrow. I didn't like it. And then couple that with the crosshairs reticle again, you know, is just very busy, and I'm just not a fan. And for $850, $900, I have to love this. You know, I just can't afford to buy an optic that I'm just so about. I have to, you know, really enjoy it, especially for something as nice as an ACOG. I wanted to treat myself here, and this is going back. I just don't love it. It's just not the optic for me. Maybe the horseshoe would be different. The field of view I can live with, honestly. Like, it's not unusable, especially because it's at the rear of the gun, so your eye's basically right up on it, just like a TA31 almost. But the reticle just kills it for me. I just don't like the crosshairs. This is not for me. So just some final thoughts about it. There are things I like about it. I like its size. I like the idea that it's a 3-power. You know, it's an ACOG. ACOGs are super nice. They're tough. They're durable. They're reliable. But just with the things like the reticle choices, I'm just not crazy about it. You know, the field of view just isn't tremendous. The eye relief isn't really, you know, it's kind of okay. But just overall, the package, I can see why these aren't super popular, just because they don't really bring a lot to the table, honestly, other than that really low mounting ability. So if you need an ACOG and you want it to sit super low, this is your only choice, really, because they don't make any other ones that sit that low. So it's just one of those things where there's no free lunch, and this is just kind of so overall, honestly. I'm gonna get rid of it. I'm just not a fan. I can't keep it around just because it, you know, it doesn't really do much for me. So this is definitely going back. So I appreciate you watching my short review. Hopefully it brought some new information here if you're considering this optic. You know, just another piece of data for you, another opinion. So thanks for watching.